Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to add face detection to your React Native apps using Expo. So first I'm just going to create my Expo project, and then I will change into that directory and install the face detection package. So there are a few things face detection could be useful for. Maybe you want to put something on screen to sort of add to someone's face or whatever you want to do. You could also use it as sort of like a gesture control in games. You could make a car speed up when the person smiles. You could like blink to stop or something like that. You can do so many things with it. It's up to your creativity, really. Okay, so I'm going to be using the full screen with the camera. You'll also need the expo-camera installed. So I want to import React here because I'm going to be using state. So basically you need the camera because you're going to be using it to see the faces and detect the faces. So the face detector is an add-on on top of the camera, and you pass options to the camera that allow face detection. So we're going to want to request permission from the user to access the camera, and that's so that we can detect the faces. And also it means that if we don't have permission, we can prompt the user to go and change the permissions inside the settings. So here we're going to make our request for the permissions. So we want to get the status property from the permissions object that will get returned from this request camera permissions async. It basically is going to prompt the user to give permission to the app to access the camera, and then that means we can detect faces. So we want to set the permission has permission to true if the status is granted, otherwise it'll be false. And if we have permission, or if we don't have permission, then we want to show some text on screen that says no access, and that will give the user the idea that they need to grant access. So I'm going to change this out because I want to have a camera here, so that I can use that to detect faces. And inside, on top of my camera, I want to display a little bit of data on the faces that I've detected and what sort of properties they have based on what the detector is sending back to me. So I've set that I want to use the front camera because I want to detect my own face. If you were pointing the camera at someone and wanted to detect their face, like from the back camera, then you would use the back camera instead. I'm giving it a style to stretch it out to full screen so that so I can see see the camera on screen. And when it detects faces, I want to call a function called handle faces detected that I'll define in a moment. You'll also want to pass face detector settings to the camera, and that's what will enable it to detect the faces. You can read about the different settings in the expo-face-detector documentation. This one will be pretty good for if you want to detect faces a little bit less accurately and just get a sort of general idea. I've got a lowish check rate, so it won't check all as frequently as it could. So this is the min detection interval. That's what basically lowers the frequency that it will detect faces at. And I think that's in milliseconds. And it's got tracking true, which means that if it detects a face in one frame, it will keep the same ID for that face in the next frame. So you can sort of differentiate between different faces on screen. So now I'm going to write my handle faces detected function. Actually, now I'm going to get my face data view. So that's basically, I'm going to do a little skeleton code here and now define my handle faces detected. So faces will be an array of different faces detected by the camera, so it can detect multiple faces. And when it detects the faces, I want to set the face data and log the faces. The reason I want to log it is really just so I can show you what sort of properties the faces array has in it. And I'm setting the face data because that's what I'm going to show through the get face data view. So just fix that typo. So if there's no face data, so the length's 0, I want to return that there is no faces on screen. So inside this view, I'm going to nest a text component. I'll define these different styles in a minute. I'm just going to write my components first and then come back. So here I will edit. So I'm just adding a background color so that it's easy to see against the camera. Because if I don't add it, then it'll sort of show on top of the camera and it can be kind of hard to see. I'm stretching it just so it takes up the whole width of the screen. And I want to center the text component. And I'm going to create a face description style with the font size of 20, just to make it quite easy to see when it's on screen. So if there are faces, then I'm going to want to return a little bit of information on what I think is happening with the face. So I'm going to want to map each face to a component. So if there's multiple faces on screen, you'll see multiple face data views. And I want to indicate 3 different properties about the face that I see based on the probabilities returned by the face detector. So I want to show whether the eyes are shut, and these probabilities are just ones I've chosen that I've experimented a bit with and felt like they gave a reasonable level of accuracy. Not 100% accurate, but that's okay. It is just a little bit inaccurate at times. So I want winking, so if the eyes aren't shut and one eye seems to be shut, then I think that's a good indication that the person is winking. I'll use those same probabilities again. You can fiddle with these if you think that different values would suit you better. If you want to only do it if you're absolutely certain, then you'd want a lower probability if you wanted the eyes shut, or a higher probability if you wanted them open. So I also want to show if the person's smiling, and I can use the smiling probability for that. So then I'm going to return a view with the style faces. And I'm going to have 3 texts in there, text with the style face description, so the font size of 20. And then I'm just going to show what I think is happening with the person on screen's face. I'm going to demo this to you guys in a minute, and prior warning, my face is not exactly camera friendly when I'm trying to make my eyes shut, make myself wink for prolonged periods, but you know, it's all good. It's just a demo after all. Cool, so now I have that, I think I should be ready to go. So I'm going to start up and open my phone on up. And I've actually given the wrong style here. It should be styles, because that's what I've defined my variable as. And for some reason, face data seems to not be an object. I think that I should have initialized that to an empty array. So that's being set. Yeah, it's definitely my initialization that's the issue. Cool, so now it's requesting my permission. I allow it. And you can see smiling true, winking true, winking true, eyes shut true, eyes shut true, smiling true. You can see that it recognizes when there's no faces. You can see there's an error down the bottom that the children should have a key. So I'm just going to go and sort that out. As always, my code's going to be available on GitHub. So if you found this tutorial useful, please subscribe and like my content. It really helps. Encourage me to post more. Really appreciate all the support I've received so far. So yeah, keep it up, guys. This is just the different face objects that you can see here and the properties that are available within it.